Hi, I'm Dave Bergstrom. I'm the pastor of Avondale Presbyterian Church. Jesus has just fed 5,000 men and their wives and their children, and he did it with a kid's box lunch. And it's time for everybody to go home. And we pick up the reading in Matthew. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up to the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night he was all alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it's I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "let me come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why do you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. And then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." What a story. And what a lesson for all of us during this trying time of COVID-19. The disciples are in the middle of a storm, but they're not sinking. Jesus decides he wants to join them, and he walks on the water toward them. The disciples are terrified because they think they're looking at a ghost. And Jesus calms their fears and says, "Hey, it's me." And Peter says something very unusual. "Well, if it's you, tell me to come out and walk on water." And Jesus says, "Come." And he gets out of the boat and he walks toward Jesus. Now just think, the storm is all around him, but he's walking on the water. The storm isn't fazing him at all. He is experiencing the power of the miracle-working Jesus. And he gets within handshaking distance of Jesus, and then he notices the storm. And he begins to sink. And he cries out to Jesus to save him, and Jesus reaches out and catches him, and they walk back to the boat, and they get in the boat, and the storm ceases. Something to think about. We go through the storms in life. Some of them are tough. Others are really difficult. But we know that Jesus is with us in the storm, and we handle it well. But like Peter, we start looking at the details of the storm. We look at the statistics by reporters. We look at the length of the storm. We know people have gotten sick. We know others have died. And instead of continuing to keep our eyes on Jesus, we focus on the wind. And then we begin to sink. And it's a gradual sinking. Now listen to me carefully. If you know that you are sinking because your focus got messed up, why not just stop and say to Jesus, "I'm sinking. I got my focus off of you." He will come to your aid. He'll help you refocus. He'll pick you up out of the sinking sea, and you'll get back in the boat. And you know what happens when Jesus is in the boat? The storm ultimately ceases.